The Lunaverse by Rainbow Double Dash. Episode 1 Longest Night, Longest Day by Rainbow Double Dash. Chapter 6 Movements and Machinations. Trixie? Charlie asked as he caught up with the unicorn outside the town hall. The blue unicorn ignored her as he focused on her target, a dark blue earth pony mare wearing a brown, hooded winter cloak, though its hood was down at the moment. Trixie was holding up a small bag with magic, and with more magic was levitating 10 silver bits into it. Lyra Heartstrings, Trixie said. She's staying at her parents' at 12 Hayseed Lane. Find her and get her to come to the representative residency at 6 o'clock. The mare stared blankly at Trixie. Do I look like a messenger runner to you? She demanded. In response, Trixie's magic placed the bag on top of the earth pony's head. Every pony looks like a messenger runner when I'm paying them another 20 bits if they do what I ask. The mare's eyes widened a little. She flicked her head, and the bag fell from it, though she caught it in her mouth as it filled. Hold! She said, as best she could, with a mouthful of cloth and money as she trotted off, joining a couple of stallion friends. Charlie blinked as he came up alongside Trixie, staring at the unicorn. You could have just asked me, she remarked. No, you are going to be busy, Trixie remarked, as he began cantering away from Town Hall, towards the Equestrian Royal Bank. You've got that little strand of art projects to set up. You're welcome, by the way. Charlie's eyes narrowed. You know, I wanted that spot. I really did. But I didn't want to leave Verity in a emotional wreck just to get it. Please, Trixie snorted defensively. She'll be fine. That's not the point, Charlie interjected. You don't know how much of a perfectionist Rarity is. And interestingly enough, Trixie said, stopping and glaring at Charlie, looking at the earth pony for the first time since he had come outside. I don't care either! Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Charlie met Trixie's glare. If it's anything like what just happened in there, she said, pointing back to the town hall, then the festival's going to be ruined. Trixie's lips curled into a sadistic smile. Fine by me, she hissed, as she turned away and began walking again. Charlie stared after her for a few moments, before shaking her head and trying out towards Bon Bon Confessionatorium. Lyra may have been theoretically living with her parents, but Trixie obviously didn't know the mint green unicorn very well, and she honestly thought that she'd be staying with them for a significant portion of any given day. Trixie entered the post office and found it in a considerably better state than it had been when she and Lyra entered yesterday, with no mess of fallen shelves and overturned carts before her. Instead, on entering, Trixie found herself staring into the wide, yellow eyes of a unicorn filly sitting behind the counter, where the receptionist was supposed to be. Hello! The unicorn exclaimed as Trixie entered, eyes closing and offering a bright grin. Oh, right there! There we go! Trixie froze as she stared at the filly. She looked nothing so much as a miniature, wingless horn-person of Ditsy. The filly was even wearing a mail boy's cap, though it was too large for her head. Despite her even-hued mood, Trixie couldn't help but feel her heart swell slightly at the sight, most likely because her brain was failing, at the moment, to fully process what she was seeing. How can I help you? The filly asked. Her hat almost slid off her head, but the filly stopped it with one hoof and forced it back into place. Trixie blinked. She managed, before her brain settled into comforter autopilot. I need to deliver this letter. Her horn glowed, as she telekinetically withdrew an envelope from her cape, holding it aloft. Same-day delivery to Cloudsdale. The filly frowned a little, closing her eyes tightly. Small sparks sprang from her horn, and a faint lavender aura wrapped itself around Trixie's lair. Trixie relinquished her grip on it, and the envelope haughtily made its way to the filly, though she nearly lost her grip a few times. At length, it settled down in front of her, and the filly opened her eyes again, panting heavily as she lifted the packets. Okay, the Cloudsdale? That's me. That's... The filly's nose scrunched slightly as he looked over a chart in front of her. tapped out a rhythm with her front hooves to aid with basic arithmetic.
20 minutes. 22.
A voice whispered from under the counter.
22 bits.
The filly corrected herself. Trixie managed it to last a few more moments before coming right up to the counter and peering over it. Sure enough, sitting on her stomach on the other side was a gray-coated Pegasus. Hat missing, but otherwise in uniform and keeping one eye on the filly, while the other had previously wandered toward the silly, but was now looking at Trixie.
Hi.
Ditsy Doo said, "Hi." Trixie returned. After several moments of silence, she stepped back from the counter, looked at the filly again.
22.
She asked. The filly nodded, and Trixie removed the bits from her money bag. Like any good sales pony, the filly began counting them out, as Trixie once more looked over the counter.
Little sister,
asked the mare, hiding there. Ditsy Doo shook her head.
Dinky Doo's my daughter,
she explained.
I'm my mama's muffin.
Dinky Doo exclaimed excitedly as she closed her eyes again, using her nessus and telekinesis to move the bits into a cast drawer behind the desk. It was slow going, giving Trixie plenty of time to take in the little filly and compare her apparent age to that of the mare who was her mother. The Pegasus didn't look much older than Trixie, and for Dinky to be as old as she looked, Ditsy had to give birth to the filly when she was younger than Trixie was now. It did, at least, explain the maternal authority she had to bear against her in Rainbow Dash yesterday.
Why is she here?
Trixie asked.
No school today,
Ditsy Doo explained.
So, she's helping me out. First, she helped me with my morning rounds. It was fun.
Dinky Doo interrupted.
But a lot of walking.
Although part of me just wants to imagine that Dinky Doo was sitting in Ditsy's mailbag, her little hose out, waving them as they flew.
And now, she's helping me around the office. Mailman for a day.
Dinky exclaimed as he finished putting away the silver bits and began using her telekinesis to lift off Trixie's lair once more. Unfortunately, she tried too hard, and the envelope ended up crumbling up. The unicorn exclaimed, out of her aura, instantly dropping from the lair. It fell to the desk as Ditsy Doo stood, and Dinky Doo staring at her.
I'm sorry. I thought I had it, but then I grabbed it too hard, and I always started doing basic telekinetics a few weeks ago, and sometimes it's really hard, but sometimes I grab things harder than I mean to, and it's just like a couple broken idea me too.
Trixie held up a hoof, even as Ditsy replaced it with a hoof on her daughter's back. Trixie's horn glowed, and the lair instantly began to smooth it out. The creases remained, but the letter was flat once more.
There we go.
Trixie reasserted filly.
Good as new.
Dinky sniffed a little, and nodded and smiled, at least until her mother started eyeing her. Cup! Dinky offered a guilty laugh, rubbing behind her head with a hoof. She explained.
We'll talk about it later.
Ditsy Doo promised as he looked over at Trixie's lair to Cloudsdale. Her eyes widened a little.
A weather for hire service?
Trixie decided not to wonder how the Pegasus knew where the lair was going for nothing more than a cloud address.
Yes,
she confirmed.
That Everfree storm is getting worse from the looks of things, and the Weather Patrol told me yesterday they're going to be completely at a loss without their captain. So, weather for hire. A dozen Pegasi ought to equal one Rainbow Dash, right?
Ditsy Doo made a face at that.
Raindrops isn't going to like that.
Why not? Trixie asked. She's the one who was complaining about the storm and not having a Rainbow Dash.
Besides, it's not her decision. It's Cloud Kicker's.
Ditsy Doo stuck her tongue out at that.
Cloud Kicker just goes along with anything Rainbow Dash tells her to do.
Not going to make a life and times of winning pony gag? I cannot. You will not make me.
Raindrops is the pony who actually keeps the patrol going during bad times. She completely, honestly loves her job and hates weather for hire services.
This wasn't exactly news for Trixie. Even from her brief interaction with Raindrops, she felt she had a pretty good bead on the pony's personality. In point of fact, to an extent, she was counting on it.
Well, she's just going to have to pony up and deal with it,
Trixie retorted, drawing a glare for Ditsy Doo. Trixie didn't relent.
Princess Luna is coming tomorrow. Those skies have to be clear for the festival, and if Rainbow Dash isn't going to lead her team like she should, and the pony who's supposed to lead the team isn't going to be of any use, then as festival overseer, it's my job to get outside help to make things run smoothly. I think it's a bit more likely Raindrops will start a fight with the Weather for Hire services.
Trixie managed to conceal both her grin and response of,
I hope so.
Trixie was either going to fix this Longest Night festival or completely ruin for every pony. And at that moment, she was finding it hard to care which had happened, even with two hopeful participants in front of her.
We'll just have to risk that, she said, throwing it down to Dinky Doo. So, I need this letter to be sent as fast as possible, okay? Okay!
The filly exclaimed, taking her mouth. Apparently she wasn't trusting her telekinesis at the moment, despite Trixie's reassurances. It scampered off through a door, out of sight.
Leroy Jasons is doing the express today,
Dinky Doo explained, as he watched her daughter go with one eye.
You'll be in Cloudsdale in no time.
She turned to Trixie again.
I hope you know what you're doing. Of course I do,
Trixie lied. Sort of. As Dinky Doo came back, got back up on the box, then allowed her to be on the desk. She went to the filly, and found herself unable to resist doing something memorable. Like Luna, she loved foals. The blue unicorn reached over, rubbed the filly on her head, nearly knocking her hat off and touching her mate.
And thank you, Dinky Doo.
Dinky objected, giggling a little.
Stop that!
Okay. Trixie relented. It's just that there's something caught under your hair. Under your hat. Dinky blinked a few times, took off the cap and checked her head, and found a silver bit falling out. She, impressively for her age, caught it with telekinesis. Eyes wide as he looked at Trixie, to her hat, which she hadn't noticed leaving her head at any point.
You need to do that,
the young unicorn demanded.
Magic,
Trixie responded.
But your horn wasn't glowing.
That's why it was magic, Trixie responded knowingly, turning around, trying for the post office, in a slightly better mood than when she had entered. Seeing the sun descend across the sky, however, toward the horizon, her thoughts turned dark again. Served as a potent reminder of how little time remained before the Longest Night Festival began tomorrow, and how Luna had exiled Trixie to Ponyville, though not before sending her up with a no-win scenario. Regardless of whether the result of the day was saved or a ruined festival, though, Trixie still had work to do. Grunting, she set out for her residency. So, the Lulamoon. Lara began. Trixie's glare at the name could have frozen the sun from its coldness. We're back to wanting Trixie, then? The unicorn served.
Back!
Trixie demanded. Last night, you insisted I call you Lulamoon. You might have been slightly very drunk. She paused a moment as he considered. About half of everything you said was in Prince, too. Trixie stared a few moments before letting out a groan.
No, it wasn't,
she objected huffily. It was, Lara responded, nodding sadly. Also, fell back into what I could only guess as a New Orleans accent. And you called me and Bonbon cute. Bonbon? My mare friend. I feel threatened, but again, drunk. And you're not her type anyway. Plus, you thought every pony was cute at the time. Even yourself. She leaned forward. But in purple? You're stunning, apparently. Never again. Trixie swore as he regarded her purple, star-studded cape. Oh, Trixie, I love you as Lulamoon. Don't make promises you can't keep. Meh! Trixie objected. The two were sitting in Trixie's office. Trixie behind her desk. She had, in fact, poured herself a glass of something amber-colored to see if it could steady her nerves, or at least brighten her mood. But after Lyra's revelations, she was thinking water would do just fine. The blue unicorn began pouring her drink back into its bottle as she eyed her mint-green counterpart.
Anyway, Lyra, first, I want to thank you for showing me around most of Ponyville and leaving me a capable host before dissing me, which I'm not mad about, I swear.
No problem.
Which brings me right to why I just paid some random pony 30 bits to get you here. I need your help.
Lyra grimaced slightly. Charlie warned me about that. Said you were wandering about town today, basically on the warpath, conning Carrot Top into opening a stall on the longest night, making Rarity freak out about her decorations, ordering weather for hire ponies, and using up just about your entire monthly stipend on them. Lyra blinked a few times. What are you going to eat anyway for the next month?
Trixie shrugged. I don't know. I'll think of something. But it's not important right now. What's important is that Fluttershy is refusing to do music. So, since you're the musician...
Lyra's eyes widened a little as he realized what Trixie was going to ask. No, she intoned.
Is that a no, I'm not going to do it, or a no way, I can't believe it?
Trixie asked with a smile on her face. Sure, he answered. No, I'm not going to do it, Lyra responded evenly. Trixie's smile dropped. That was not the answer she had been expecting.
What?
She asked. The festival is tomorrow night. I need more time to prepare. A set list at least.
Just play the anthem!
For the raising of the moon, sure. But what about the rest of the night? And besides, I'm spending the night with Bon Bon. Lyra matched Trixie's hard stare without effort. The two unicorns were silent for some time, before Trixie whickered in annoyance, trotting around from behind her desk, and horn glowing as she took a letter from her cape's pocket. The letter from the foreman Baron Duckblood, which she subbed in front of the mint-green unicorn.
This is where I am, Lyra,
Trixie intoned, after giving her a few moments to read.
I have one chance, one, of maybe getting back in Luna's good graces, and that's saving everything from going straight into the sun.
Lyra shook her mane. If that's true, she asked, then why does it seem like you're trying to ruin everything? You're going to start a fight between the Apples clan and poor Carrot Top,
and not just her.
Trixie objected quickly, sliding the letter back into her cape's pocket.
I've actually arranged for a few other cells, too. Spent most of the afternoon. There won't be a fight, because they're not selling on festival grounds.
That's semantics and you know it. You think the Apples will care?
Of course they'll care, but they can't do anything about it. It'll give Luna more to eat than just apples.
And leaving Rarity an emotional wreck? Lyra asked. She's still at Town Hall, you know. She'll probably be working her hose off until right before the festival's about to begin. And it looked great and you know it. But now the decorations will probably end up looking like they were done by a school filly. And weather for hire ponies? You'll be lucky if the weather patrol doesn't break into you and kill you in your sleep. Trixie rolls her eyes.
Raindrops herself says he couldn't promise anything. If that storm over the Everfree is as bad as he said it was going to be, can I be blamed for wanting to hedge my bets?
Lyra sighed, conceding the point. It's going to end poorly, that's all, she promised. And you want to add me to all this? Trixie shrugged.
Know any other musicians living in Ponyville?
Well, there is the final scratch.
Ones that are good enough to play for the princess herself?
The unicorn took a step forward. She was playing her entire hoof here, faster than she normally would. But that was what it took.
If you do, for the love of stars, tell me now. Otherwise, I've heard you play that harp.
Liar. Lyra interrupted, with the same kind of force that Trixie put it behind her demands about her name.
Liar, sorry, that liar of yours, and you're good. And you've just graduated from the magic school, so I'm guessing you know a lot of spells to enhance your playing. Imagine how that must look on a music resume.
Music resume? Lyra asked, one brow raised. You have no idea how being a musician works, do you?
I know that ponies with more consistent jobs would never pass up an opportunity like this.
Lyra's brow arched higher. More consistent jobs, she echoed. You don't think very much of me, do you? Trixie blinked a few times.
No, wait, yes, no, whatever! I think you're just fine. Well, it's just that you'll totally be depending on the goodwill of ponies for an income.
Goodwill here being synonymous with charity, Lyra growled.
No!
Trixie objected, stomping a hoof on the wooden floor.
Look, the point is, you're just out of the magic school on a music scholarship, and your first job will be playing for Princess Luna.
Lyra didn't care, and Lyra didn't drop for a few moments. But eventually she did look away, tapping a hoof to her chin in thought. Trixie was silent, though she shuffled hoof to hoof in anticipation. At length, Lyra looked back at her. National anthem only, she acquiesced, and only for raising the moon. Trixie blinked.
What about midnight, or the drawing down of the...
Lyra stood up and turned for the door. See you tomorrow night, Trixie. Wait! Trixie objected. dancing forward in front of Lyra.
Okay, fine. Just the moon. And the swinging of the stars. They're part and parcel. You can't deal with one without the other. It'll be all in 5 minutes.
Lyra waited a moment, before nodding her head once. Deal! She agreed, and watched Trixie let out a sigh of relief. After a moment, Lyra leaned in. But only because this really is a once-in-a-lifetime gig, and I don't like you basically calling me a jobless bum. She didn't wait for Trixie to apologize, before pushing past the unicorn, heading for the residency door. Trixie let her go, and Lyra waited around. Trixie was certain she would have apologized, or said the words anyway. Her heart would hardly be behind it, as after all, she did end up with what she wanted. Instead, Trixie trotted back to her desk, running over a mental list. Catering? Saved. At least to her own satisfaction. She had just enough bits for a decent meal tomorrow. Music? Saved. The most important part anyway. Weather? Still iffy. But at least the matter was now in hoof, if volatile. Raindrops seemed far too professional to do anything more than complain about the weather for higher ponies. Decorations? Well, admittedly Trixie had probably ruined them. But if that was the case, it was so worth it to get back at Rarity for the dress and her shallow behavior. Speaking of getting back, Trixie had one particular pony she needed to lash out at. Certain that would come tomorrow, Luna would see that Trixie was capable of bringing a festival back from the brink of disaster. She was more than ready to handle the more demanding responsibilities of the Night Court, and finally put both her sociological studies and her magical knowledge to practical use. So the final step then was to show Luna how Trixie would waste that talent, and all the long years of teaching that Separatist Moon had invested in her. And the princess really did intend to simply dump Trixie in Ponyville like so much trash. Chapter 7. The Raising of the Moon. The remainder of the day passed without incident, as did the night, and at least the first part of the following day. Carrot Top arrived with her cart early in the morning, before any of the Apple clan showed up, as did the other produce sellers of Ponyville that Trixie had, by hook and crook, been able to drag into her scheme. None of them seemed particularly confident, but Trixie managed to reassure all of them in various ways, mostly helped out by random ponies passing by, who seemed confused as to what was happening, but when Trixie explained her intentions, at least put on a show of being happy to have more than just apples to eat tonight. The arrival of the Apple Clan's veritable armada of sailors, at about 3 o'clock, was where the problems began, although for the rest of her days, Trixie would treasure the memory of the look on Applejack's face. "What tarnation am I looking at here?" Your reserve pony demanded, as he stopped up to Trixie's home. Trixie paused a moment as she chewed thoughtfully, looking to the ensemble she had in her telekinetic grasp.
Well, she said, first, I started with a few carrots, which I diced up and mixed with butter. Or I meant to anyway, but I was out. But there was still some cheese, and what the hey, it's all dairy anyway. So then,
if looks could kill, then Applejack's glare would have depopulated the entire region.
Oh, you mean the food stalls?
Trixie interrupted herself, glancing behind her.
Well, I thought over our conversation from a few days ago, and I thought to myself, hey, I've known Princess Luna for a decade now, and I know what she likes to eat and what she doesn't, and I know for a fact that if she doesn't have anything but apples to look forward to, she'll probably go crazy and let Discord loose or something.
Applejack's glare managed to go deadly, long enough to wipe out all of Equestria, and a good portion of the surrounding nations as well. I thought we were on the same page here, she intoned. I thought y'all understood just how much my family depends on the sales for tonight.
Trixie nodded. Yeah, but then I thought about how much they...
Trixie looked behind her, and defenders were trying their hardest to look at any direction but towards Applejack.
Need the bets as well.
But they weren't expecting none, Applejack exclaimed. You get by just fine over here all the same. This ain't nothing but trampling all over centuries of Ponyville tradition. Trixie pulled out one of her most unpleasant smirks.
Applejack,
she intoned.
Are you worried you can't compete?
Yara's pony backed up several steps, as though Trixie had struck her. What? She demanded.
My apples,
my family's apples, are the best in Equestria. My family's recipes are the best!
But do we really know that?
Trixie asked. tapping her front hose together. Every year, you get the 3 biggest holidays all to yourselves. Must be comfortable up on that throne you've built from apple cores. Must be a scary thought of having finally to actually fight for your business. Applejack glared, returned with a force that could have knocked the sun and moon from orbit. I think you may want to stop talking now, she ordered in a low voice. Trixie obeyed, but her grin was loquacious to a fault. After a few moments of regarding it, Applejack trotted up to Trixie, face getting very, very close to the unicorn's own. I don't know what y'all are playing at, she said, then looked past Trixie at the other farmers. Any of y'all! Well, it looks like you want to fight. And as soon as my witness, I'm willing to oblige. Excellent, Trixie responded, then stepping back a few paces. But only did that so she could wave her hooves in a shooing manner. Now turn right off, because I have a lot of I'm going to murder you! An almost impossibly loud voice shouted from straight above, reaching and maybe even surpassing volumes Trixie had thought only Luna was capable of. Trixie and Applejack both looked up to find a small, jet black cloud hovering overhead, crackling with barely contained lightning. Standing on top of it, panting heavily with wings spread wide in threat, was a jasmine-coated Pegasus. Raindrops lit from her cloud, landing with a thud next to Applejack. She briefly turned to look at the Earth Pony. Hey! Howdy! Applejack turned, tipping her hat. You might want to stand back. Applejack glanced at the miniature thundercloud overhead. I reckon I might just do that, she said, cantering away into her clan. She kept an eye over her shoulder, however, and looked on Trixie. The mayor had the distinct sense Applejack was trying to preserve the look currently plastered on Trixie's face, so she could treasure it for the rest of her days. Raindrop's attention was once more turned to Trixie, and she took a single step forward, though with enough force to actually crack one of the cobblestones beneath her hooves. Trixie blinked at that. She had expected Raindrops to be angry. Not that she had been expecting a pony who could break stone with her hooves. Her bare hooves, as it seemed that Raindrops, like most Pegasi, went without shoes. Weather for hire ponies, Raindrops said, her voice now frighteningly calm. I got up, brushed my mane, and went to work this morning, and I found a dozen of those reprobates swarming my weather patrol station! It's not really your... Don't care! Raindrops exclaimed, taking another step forward. Now, as it turns out, I happen to recognize one of them. Oh yes, I recognized him, and he's their leader, mind, of that group of... Words failed her at the moment, before she could resume. He was kicked out of flight school. Not flaked out, not dropped out, kicked out! Do you know why, Trixie? Ask me why he was. Trixie didn't. Raindrops once again stabbed her hoof and broke stone beneath her. Ask me why, Trixie! Why? Trixie asked, in a small voice. It doesn't matter why! Pegasi, we're pretty rowdy as yearlings, and in Cloudsdale, that's always taken into account. So the kind of things that would get some pony expelled from school down here would probably get you into detention at Cloudsdale. So for him to do something so bad, to get him kicked out, it's a miracle he has any job at all. And it's a sin that his job is leading a weather for hire team. So Trixie, I'm going to murder you, and then I'm going to murder him, and then I'm going to enjoy it! I didn't know! Trixie attempted. She gathered a mediocre of courage, stepping forward. You're the one who told me no promises about that storm! Raindrops didn't buzz in it. So, you don't trust us to do our jobs? You think this is the first major storm to roll out of Everfree? The first time we've had to deal with something like this? But no! You have to go and hire a bunch of flight school flunkies! He has the job, Trixie interrupted. He came highly recommended. So whatever happened in flight school, it clearly didn't have anything to do with his weather abilities. And I spent just about my monthly stipend on him and his team. Trixie leaned forward once more. You're the one who complained about missing your weather manager. I was just trying to help! Raindrops' teeth ground together. With such force, Trixie was surprised he didn't crack. 1 full day, Raindrops said, pressing what little ground Trixie had gained. Just 1 day and night. That's all they're hired for. Just keep the storm rolling into Ponyville and ruining everything. After that, they're gone. Jasmine Pegasus leaned forward, right into Trixie's ear. Sleep with one eye open, she intoned, before beating her wings, ascending slowly to her thundercloud, and carrying it off. Trixie watched her go, then let out a huge sigh of relief. Somewhere near the town hall, she heard chuckling that somehow managed to be accented with a country drawl. But chose to ignore it as he turned her back home. Carrot Top and other ponies were staring at her. "What?" she demanded, stomping down the path that led from the street to her front door. "You have work to do. Get to it!" The last was punctuated by Trixie opening her door, stepping inside, and giving as hard a slam as she could manage. Despite the culmination of 2 straight days of standing on the surface of the sun, being the beginning of twilight about 2 hours later, was almost a relief by now. The stalls had been set up, and several unicorns were working on concert, surrounding the town center to create a bubble of warm air for the multitude of ponies that were now making their way there. More than a few were surprised by the additional stalls for Carrot Top and the rest. But more than a few were happy to have more than just apples to eat, though the trust itself was cleaning up nicely regardless. As the sun began to approach the horizon, the pre-festival spirit was fairly high for most ponies. In addition to the food stalls, there were games of chance and skill, like hoof-throwing balls at a target or bobbing for apples. The latter, surprisingly, having been set up by some pony not related to the Apple Clan. There were several open areas where vinyl records, were playing music for dancing. Trixie was paying attention to none of it. Earlier in the day, she had finally gotten around to seeing the mayor of Ponyville, formally introducing herself, presenting her credentials, engaging in a light and friendly banter that served as a pleasant temporary escape from the last few days. But most importantly of all, rushing through a Ponyville for a last-minute performance to be added to the longest night's retinue. Given that the music was supposed to be provided by Fluttershy, was now largely absent and had to be provided by phonographs. It wasn't hard to arrange an hour-and-a-half break from the sometimes dubious quality records, and instead put Trixie's scheme into full motion. That was for after Luna arrived, however. Right now, Trixie was standing in the crowd of hundreds of ponies inside Town Hall. Warmer than outside was, even with unicorn magic, albeit stuffier. Through a window, she could see a darkening sky. Red and purple, and not a cloud in the sky. Ringing the auditorium where the Apple Clan stands, but more than a few ponies were carrying foodstuffs acquired from outside, for Carrot Top and the others as well. Decorations, despite Slyra's warnings, looked just fine. Not as fine as before, but he had been adapted to take the arts and crafts products of the school folds into account. Rarity apparently decided to spread them around throughout the auditorium to turn the place almost into an art gallery. And Lyra was fine with her mare friend Bon Bon, dressed in a fine white and gold gown, and with lyre slung over her back, ready to play. Everything had worked out. Trixie was alone. That was a feat in and of itself, because she was, properly speaking, never more than 6 inches away from any pony. But it was simple as that. She was alone, despite being in the middle of the crowd. She wasn't talking to any pony. She wasn't outside celebrating. She wasn't doing anything more than just sitting near the middle of the auditorium, next to a dark blue Pegasus mare, who was chatting amicably with a gray-colored Pegasus stallion. He looked like an off-duty royal guard, doing little more than just counting down the minutes until Luna arrived, and wondering how she managed to, in a mere 2 days, get everything right, and yet screw everything up at the same time. Trixie let out a long sigh. Whatever. This was the course of her life now, and nothing would change it. "These and tentacles!" a voice exclaimed. Trixie's reverie was interrupted at the sound, as she saw that the mare, an older earth pony with a beige colt, made her way to the center of the stage. It was trying to get every pony's attention. At great length, she mostly succeeded, though a few quiet conversations had continued, including the unicorn and stallion sitting next to Trixie. "Fillies and Celticoats!" the mayor repeated. "I hope you're having a good time so far. I hope you slept in the morning this well, because all the fun and games have only barely begun. The shortest day of the year is drawing to a close, and now time to truly begin celebrating the longest night." As there were cheers and host songs at that, but they were relatively subdued. Every pony knew, after all, what was coming next. and he wanted to get to it as quietly as possible. "And now then," the mayor continued, turning slightly to face the curtains, now scared most of the stage, "as mayor of Ponyville, it's my greatest pleasure to officially introduce and welcome our guest of honor, our ruler, our savior, and our protector, the Shepherd of the Moon, caretaker of the Sun, mistress of the Star Beast, sovereign of the three tribes, ruler of the land of Equestria, Her Royal Majesty, Princess Luna Equestrias!" The curtains pulled back, revealing nothing. Technically untrue. There was some stage, a wall, and another curtain that hid the backstage area. But for the alicorn herself, totally absent. Some ponies gasped in horror. Some ponies sputtered in confusion. Some ponies simply stood stock still, completely dumbstruck. But the Pegasus standing next to Trixie continued her low conversations as if nothing was wrong. A surprising oversight on her part, and one which utterly ruined her disguise. Trixie let out a long, slow sigh and reached over and poked the pony next to her. The Pegasus turned to temporary confusion, with her eyes wide. "Oh!" she said softly, beating her wings a few times, taking over the air to the stage and landing there. She turned to the mayor. "My deepest apologies, mayor," she said, then turned to the confused Ponyvillians. "And to you all! This festival is delightfully distracting. Just give me a moment to collect myself." There was a midnight blue flash, and a pop from somewhere in the cloud. And quite suddenly, standing next to the Pegasus was her unicorn doppelganger, identical in every way, except for the lack of wings and presence of the horn. Following that, an earth pony, once more identical to the other two ponies, simply leapt onto the stage where she had been standing in the crowd, more than a dozen feet away. The earth pony landed evenly and smoothly, despite the impossible distance of a dead start jump. As soon as the three together, each began to glow with a soft blue light. The Pegasus and unicorn moved first, turning to each other and simply stepping into one another, features becoming indistinct for several long moments before coming together once more, revealing that they had become as one, and also changed in appearance slightly, and a longer snout and mane with tail light longer, though still light blue, and somewhat slender, delicate frame. The pony that resulted had both wings and a horn. She didn't remain still for long, turning instead to the earth pony, who stepped into the other pony. Once more they faded from clarity for a moment, but the single resultant pony was remarkably different, taller than most stallions, frame still slender, but no longer delicate in appearance. Instead, more like that of a trained runner, with white, well-worked muscles underneath her blue midnight coat. Her mane and tail were no longer hair at all, but rather a glowing aura of midnight blue, studded with stars, and rippling as though water were catching a clear night sky. The pony's flank glowed, and her star cutie mark was replaced by a nebulous black cloud, but one that was overlaid by the presence of a white crescent moon. Following this, the pony's hooves, chest, and the tip of her head behind her horn glowed momentarily. In a moment, she was clad in the royal regalia of blue shoes, a deep blue chest plate with a crescent moon emblazoned on its fore, and a black, three-pointed crown. The Ponyvillians stared in awed silence. Trixie managed to suppress a loud groan of exasperation as the alicorn stood on stage, spread her wings wide. "My little ponies," she said, her voice soft yet firm, perfectly regal, yet still carrying a light hint of embarrassment over her earlier distraction, albeit one managed to turn into a impressive display of magical power. "Your Princess of the Light has arrived." The applause was a sigh of instantaneous. Luna beamed at it, offering her best royal smile. After a moment, she raised the hoof for silence, tugging her wings against her body once more. "The infinite night carries deep meaning," she said. "It is a time of endings and a time of beginnings. Since the height of summer, the days have been growing shorter and colder. The cold withering as the leaves died and had to be taken from the trees. The last harvest was taken in as the Pegasi began the 3 months of winter. The first snowfall sealed the fields from the light of sun and moon, and the cold hardened the ground and water turned to ice. The old year is dying, and tonight it shall finally pass on, consigned to the realm of memory. But take heart, my little ponies! Though this year passes, a new one is to begin tonight. The days shall grow longer and warmer, snow shall melt, and the ground will soften, and Earth shall once more become receptive to your care, stronger, and better for having the winter time to rest. Tonight, the old year dies, but do not grieve for it, for its passing makes way for the new year, and the endless possibility that year contains. She smiled. I walked amongst you tonight, disguising myself as Pegasus and Unicorn and Earth Pony. I spoke with many of you, danced with a few of you, shared food, drink, and laughter. And from all this, my little ponies, from your character and actions, I have faced a decision about this necessity incoming new year. It shall be a good one. And a wild one. Trust me, I've been through it. Woo, Nelly! The elected ponies linked amongst each other, smiling. More than a few were blushing furiously, likely being ponies Luna had interacted with while in disguise, and now mortified at the things they may have done or said, but happy nonetheless. For Luna, the princess, shepherd of the moon and caretaker of the sun, and thus blessed the new year due to their actions. Luna's smile never faltered. Now then, she said, turning to look at the mint green unicorn, wearing a white and gold dress, and who was holding a lyre in her magical grip. I believe a little music is in order for what comes next. Lyra stared blankly for a moment, before what Luna was asking. She nodded as professionally as she could, before settling down into a position that looked backbreakingly uncomfortable to most ponies, hose at the ready. At a nod from Luna, she began to plug her lyre, its horn glowing to amplify the sound, and to provide backup music despite the lack of a band. To Trixie's surprise, the sound that came out wasn't the national anthem at all, but something far simpler in arrangement. Luna nodded approvingly, before turning back to the ponies. Close your eyes, she said, as her horn glowed, and midnight energy washed from it like a wave over them. The ponies obeyed, and instead, they were no longer in the auditorium. They were outside, high above Ponyville, standing in the sky as Luna spread her wings wide. Behind her, to the west, the sun slipped down beyond the horizon, the last of its light disappearing. For a brief moment, everything was utterly black. Then, in the east, the first sliver of silver light appeared on the horizon. The sliver widened, becoming a beam, then a wide ray, before finally a silver, full spear began to rise from the horizon, bathing the entire countryside in a soft light. Every pony gasped at the sight, though any further reactions were cut short as Luna leapt, appearing from atop the rising moon. Despite the distance, every pony could see her clearly as she stood there, utterly still as she guided the moon fully over the eastern horizon, before leaping again, but this time not alone. From behind the moon, following her, came a million points of light, following her like a wave as her mane and tail flared with magic along her horn. Luna began dancing amongst the sky, hopping, skipping, twirling, and spinning, a deep, primal dance as the stars chased her across the sky. She would wave her hoof and string up a dozens at a time, swing her mane and imprint them in the patterns of the familiar constellations. The stars would move of their own accord as well, twirling around her body, as though trying to embrace her. Sometimes she would let them, holding them all close before releasing them against the sky once more. No pony knew exactly how long they watched Luna dance. Eventually, the stars following her began to thin out, until finally only one was left. This one, she placed firmly above all the rest in the north, nuzzling it before drifting away, back to the awestruck ponies. As he landed, the ponies found the world fading back to normal. They were once again in the auditorium, just as Lyra brought the musical accompaniment of Muna's Moonrise and Stardance to a close. Silence prevailed for several long moments, before Luna bowed, wings spread wide. Then set out the Ponyvillians. It was surprising the entire town hall didn't come crashing down from the force of their host stomps. Luna smiled wildly. Trixie, meanwhile, let out exasperated groans he had been holding back, since it wouldn't be heard over the sound of ponies anyway. Great! She said in a low voice as she turned around. That's the act that I have to follow.